guys, Dr. John Schaefer here. Today we're talking about 3 keys to rehabbing just about any injury. And this video is going to help give you a framework for how to think about injury, for how to address your own injuries, and how to keep moving forward if you do experience an injury. A lot of times what I see happening, individuals will experience an injury and totally throw the course of their life off. It'll be a larger setback than they were originally anticipating, and it'll have long-term implications. So we want to avoid that. We want to put you in a position where you can actively take control when you do have injuries. So it's a situation where you can take care of them right away and they don't end up being a long-term issue. The first principle is rest is not the answer. So a lot of times following injury, people will perform what's called RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation. Everybody's heard of it. It's no longer supported by evidence. It's no longer something that we typically recommend as rehab professionals beyond the first day, maybe 2 days. So if you're resting, if you're waiting for things to get better on their own, you need to start taking an active approach. You need to find things you can do, find ways you can move, find ways to continue moving forward, but you can't simply sit and wait for things to get better in most cases. There are a couple exceptions. If it is a fracture, if it's a major ligament injury, in those situations it might be important to rest a little bit longer or take a more guided approach to make sure that you're not doing any structural damage. But for most bumps and bruises, most common injuries, rest is not the answer for you. Principle number 2, always take an active role in your recovery. So I want to talk about the old medical model versus the new medical model here, because I think a lot of people are still thinking in ways of the old medical model. So let's take an injury, for example, such as back pain. So in the old medical model, what you do is you go and see your orthopedic doctor. Your orthopedic doctor might take x-rays, they might take an MRI, some form of imaging. And then after that, what they'll do is they may give you an injection. If that doesn't work, come back. Maybe they'll give you pain medication. If that doesn't work, come back. Maybe they'll send you to physical therapy. Try that for 6 to 8 visits. If that doesn't work right away, which sometimes you need more time than 6 to 8 weeks. But if that doesn't work, come back and then maybe have surgery and operation and then go to rehab after that. The new medical model supports going straight to see physical therapy, straight to consulting with a physical therapist. And if that doesn't work, after 8 weeks, if you're not seeing improvement, if you're not seeing progress, then it's a situation where you can go to your doctor, get imaging, and then go down the line with some of those other treatments, such as injections, pills, or surgery, if that's the ultimate route that you'll take. But it's super important to note that with a lot of injuries, with back pain, shoulder pain, the imaging doesn't always make a huge difference in our treatment approach. For instance, with back pain, a lot of healthy people have abnormal imaging, and a lot of people who have back pain have perfect imaging. So moving to a model where we're seeing musculoskeletal experts right off the bat is the way to go. What's the worst that can happen? You try a conservative measure that's not, putting a foreign substance in your body or a surgery, and it doesn't work, fine, go see someone else, go get another opinion. But we have to try some of these conservative measures earlier on that aren't, medication, injections, surgeries. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because I've seen so many unnecessary surgeries, or seen people who have had surgeries and now they're worse off than they were before, and I don't want that to be you. So you can always take an active role in your recovery, and that starts by seeking out conservative treatment right off the bat, because there's a lot of qualified individuals who can help you through a problem without injections, without medication, without surgery. Principle number 3, keep the end goal in mind. Whatever it is you're trying to get back to, whatever activities are important to you, you need to be thinking about that the entire course of your rehab. And your rehab really needs to be focused around those things. If you're trying to get back to playing a racket sport, if you're trying to get back to hiking, running, cycling, whatever it might be, you need to be training, you need to be rehabbing in ways that are going to prepare you for getting back to those sports, getting back to those activities. So always have the end goal in mind. If it's a situation where maybe you've tried rehab and it's been a lot of passive modalities such as using like e-stimulation, mostly acupuncture, cupping, dry needling. All that stuff can be helpful early on and can be helpful in adjunct to some of the more active treatments, but everything should look like getting you back to the sports and activities that are important to you. So doing a lot in terms of training the muscles, exposing the muscles to greater loads over time. Obviously, you're not going to come right out the bat doing a lot of heavy lifting and things like that if you're in a lot of pain, but that's going to be the end goal, is to get you back to a situation where your body's able to handle those demands. So oftentimes what it looks like is gradually loading the tissues within the tolerance that you have, and then over time, as your body builds up that tolerance, starting to increase the weight, increase the repetitions, and getting you back to, again, doing those things that you love. So when it comes to rehab, it's always important that you're taking an active approach. You're not just waiting and seeing what happens when you rest, waiting and seeing what happens after a couple weeks of medication, or rushing to the doctor to get imaging if it's a situation where this is just a new bump or bruise. Our bodies have a tremendous capacity to heal themselves. We just need to give them the appropriate loads and give them the opportunity to do so. So hopefully this video is helpful in giving you a couple different keys to think about following injury and a couple different keys to success when you are going throughout the rehab process. If you've tried rehab in the past, maybe in a traditional clinic setting, and it's been more passive, I'm happy to try and help you and happy to see if it's a situation where I can step in and show you a different approach. If you have any questions at all, feel free to drop them in the comments, and looking forward to getting you feeling, moving a little bit better.